So we have quite a topic at hand today, right? As you can tell from the title of the video or maybe the thumbnail, right? Simply what I want to go over is how to love properly and how to be okay moving on to a new relationship and finally receiving that proper love, right? Because lately, I want to start by saying that a lot of my friends are women, right? I have a lot of female friends, right? When you hang around a lot of women, you start to get put into whatever they're going through, right? And they'll tell you everything that they're going through. They'll tell you this, and that, and the third, right? And you start to realize that, damn, women got it pretty hard, right? Now, in no way would I ever call myself a feminist, right? I don't even really know what that is. I know nothing about that. I do, for one, stand up for women. You know, I believe that every woman, regardless of what you are or what you do, you're still a human at heart, and you have feelings, and you deserve to express that and to just be given the same respect as anyone else, you know. And the point that I'm trying to get at here is that a lot of my friends are women, right? And they're all going through this similar experience of not feeling proper love, not getting what they feel they deserve or what they ask for, right? Not being loved properly or being used for their body, this, that, and the third, right? It's horrible, toxic things. And they usually come to me about it and they talk to me about it, and I'll give them advice and such. So I feel since I can do that for them, why not give it to the public, for y'all, for my community here. So let's start off by saying, do you ever notice how people who were loved wrong will start apologizing for everything? Right? They will apologize for taking too long to text back, or for getting emotional, or needing reassurance, for existing too loudly, too softly, or too honestly, right? And the saddest part is that they don't even realize that they're doing that anymore, right? Because when somebody spends months or years making you feel difficult to love, you eventually stop seeing yourself as someone who's worth loving correctly. You start surviving relationships instead of experiencing them. And then one day, someone comes into your life and loves you gently, correctly. And suddenly your whole body does not know what to do with it. So, the first section here is when love becomes pain, right? Some people will not break your heart all at once. They'll do it slowly, in pieces, right? So they'll slowly, little by little, take away pieces of you until you no longer recognize yourself, right? They make you question your worth and your appearance and your emotions, your voice and your boundaries. And eventually you become smaller just to keep the peace. You stop communicating because every conversation turns into an argument, right? Or at least that's what you expect, right? You stop asking for reassurance because you're called needy. Again, it's what you expect. You stop expressing pain because they make you feel dramatic. Again, same thing, is what you expect. And eventually, you will become smaller to keep the peace once again. You stop communicating because every conversation turns into an argument. You stop asking for reassurance because you're called needy. You stop expressing pain because they make you feel dramatic. So you begin carrying your hurt silently. And that's the thing that people don't really talk about enough, I feel, is that toxic love does not always look loud, right? Sometimes it could look like emotional neglect. Sometimes it's cold replies or half effort, mixed signals, or feeling lonely when you are literally laying right next to somebody in the same bed, under the same sheets, on the same pillow. So, when you stay in that environment too long, your nervous system quite literally adapts to that, which I would just call chaos, right? When it's such a mess and everything, it's quite literally just chaos, right? You begin expecting inconsistency. You become hyper aware of tone changes, and dry texts feel like danger, and distance feels like abandonment. You stop loving peacefully, and instead, you start loving defensively. So the next section here is the aftermath, right? When the relationship ends, but somehow the damage stays, right? You carry them into every new connection, not because you miss them, but because pain leaves fingerprints on people, right? So now you overthink everything. You struggle to trust kindness because you're waiting for it to become manipulation. You wait for people to switch up. You wait for abandonment, and you wait for disappointment. And honestly, sometimes healthy love feels suspicious when all you know is survival. Because chaos becomes familiar. You got so used to earning love that receiving it freely feels uncomfortable. And that's why some people can sabotage their own good relationships. Not because they're toxic and not because they don't care, but because being loved correctly feels unfamiliar. And unfamiliar things are going to scare wounded people. The next section we have here is when you finally meet someone different, right? One day, you meet someone who doesn't make love feel like war, and it changes everything. They communicate, they reassure you without making you feel guilty for needing it. They don't disappear randomly, they don't punish you with silence, and they don't make you beg for bare minimum effort. And at first, you almost don't trust it. You keep waiting for the mask to fall off. You keep waiting for inconsistency, the coldness, the manipulation, disappointment. But it never comes. And that's when you realize how damaged you were by the last person. Because healthy love doesn't confuse you, it calms you. Real love does not leave you constantly anxious. It doesn't make you question where you stand, and it does not make you feel replaceable. Love is not supposed to feel like survival. It's supposed to feel safe. Now, we have another section here, which is the painful part about healing, right? The hardest part about finally being loved correctly is realizing how badly you were treated before. Because now you notice the difference. You notice how easy communication really is, how simple honesty is, and how natural reassurance feels when someone actually cares. And suddenly all the excuses that you made for them, your ex, whatever, right, that it's gonna start falling apart. You realize that you were accepting crumbs and calling that love. You were fighting for somebody who would have watched you drown if it meant keeping their ego intact. And that realization is gonna hurt, right? Because it's not because you still want them, but instead it's because you start grieving the version of yourself that tolerated it. The version of you that begged for consistency, the version of you that stayed too long, the version of you that thought pain was normal. And honestly, I think a lot of us owe ourselves an apology for that. The next section here is definitely something that I feel we don't go over enough, at least on this channel, right? Which is learning to receive love. You know, I feel like a lot of the time I'm giving out how to get through it, but on a lighter topic, how do you receive love? So people are always talking about how to love others, but nobody talks about how to receive love, because that is a different kind of healing. Because when you've been hurt enough, care will feel foreign. You instinctively prepare for disappointment. You overanalyze kindness, and you question people's intentions. But slowly, the right person teaches your nervous system that love is not danger. And maybe for the first time in your life, you can breathe inside of a relationship. No games, no confusion, and no emotional guessing games. It's simply honesty, effort, patience, and care. And that kind of love will definitely change people. Not because it fixes them, but because it reminds them that they were never impossible to love in the first place. Somebody out there is going to love you in a way that makes your past make sense. Not because the pain was necessary, but because one day you'll finally experience the difference between being tolerated and being cherished. And when that day comes, do not run from it just because it's unfamiliar. You deserve softness. You deserve reassurance, consistency, and you absolutely deserve a love that does not leave scars behind. And most importantly, you deserve to stop calling survival love. There we go. That's the end of the video. That's all I got for y'all today. Honestly, this was a pretty hard topic for me to go over just because I've also experienced my own things, and a lot of people that I'm very close with experience those same things. So when you literally every script that I write is a mix of what I've been through, other people have been through, and my own research, like genuine research that I will Google and everything. But a majority of it is from other people and from myself, so yeah, I think it was about time that this channel needed a kind of video like this. I feel we go a lot over simple breakups, just very vague, general breakup, getting over it. But I think it's also important that we go over the stages of what can lead up to that breakup and how to move past that. And instead of how whatever relationship problem, instead how to love correctly and how to receive that correctly. So yeah, that's all I have for y'all today. Y'all know what to do. I love y'all so much. Thank you. Bye.